Okay. Okay, hi to everyone. Nice to meet you. Thanks for being here. I am Gianluca Vita. I am mostly a teacher. I teach in two Academy of Fine Art in Milan and to the Polytechnic of Architecture. And I'm here to show you, to present you some of the work I do. In this case, with my wife, that is Irene Ruiz-Bazan. She teaches at Polytechnic of Turin. We joined because she is interested in cultural heritage. She teaches restoration, and I am the blender one of the family. She can be here, but we're showing you work we made with the association Territorio Mudéjar. That is an association that is in Spain that is trying to safeguard and manage the Mudejar heritage. We have in Europe a lot of places that are very interesting for the cultural heritage, but I have again problem of don't be so developed as other area, as you know. And this is, for example, some area of the Spain and so. So some part of the Europe is over tourism, like this city. Some part is need some little bit of tourism. So the European countries give some money to develop this part. And this is one part of the money, of the work we do. We work with this association for the Mudejar architecture. Mudejar is an art that is not well known. I don't know if some of you know this kind of style of architecture. And what is interesting in this is that it's a blend between Islamic and Romanesque and Gothic tradition. And it was quite interesting for this in these years. I think that this theme is very, very interesting. And we work to develop this kind of area. What we do, and this is the association, the webpage of the association, and we digitalized it. Because the European Committee, Europe wants to think that the digitalization is one of the fundamental part of the developing of this area. This is the Territorio Mudéjar webpage. This is the area we work in, this Aragon in Spain. You know that Spain is very wide and not so densely populated, and this is one of the less populated area. You see, I show you some photos so you can have an idea of where we are going to work. This area of Spain is really not like a desert, but quite similar, and is made by very small city and a large space of like a desert, okay? Hills and so on. You know Don Quixote? Okay, it's not this one. It's a different one, but not so far, okay? A lot of wind and a lot of space. And in this area, we have this architecture that, as I said before, is a mix between Muslim and Romanesque and Gothic. Is not so well known, but my opinion, obviously, is that is interesting to know this better, like other areas, but we work in this one. And I simply show you some picture. You can see that the mix of the style is really, really amazing. Some part is really something interesting. And this is more or less what we do. We take some church, some heritage, and we take the photo, we build these models, and we work in these models with Blender. Then I will explain you why it's so important to use Blender. We have many software that makes photogrammetry. We use mostly Measure or Metashape, but the important part is that the use of Blender, because if you make the model with photogrammetry software, you then can do nothing with it, but you have to manage, you have to develop the model, and you have to give the model to the people that works in this country with an open source software. Because it's absolutely important that they have something that is open source, that is cheap, this is very important, but mostly that can last for years. If you use some other kind of software, maybe then you don't have the version, maybe you have to pay. We'll speak about this, but this is the main focus of the situation. We have to create a language of 3D modeling of architecture, of cultural heritage of Europe, and this language has to be open source. Punto. Okay, some part, this is the slide made by my wife, so I have to read it, and so otherwise I forgot something. But European national funding programs give a lot of money before the COVID also, but again more after this, to do this, to develop this area. Next Generation in Spain, PNR in Italy. Some part is focused on this, digitalization, and creation of digital model of monuments, artifacts. But more they have a digital copy, what is important is have an encyclopedia of our monuments, to have 3D models that can really create a base for our cultural heritage. And we know how much is important in this period to make the Europe stronger. What are the problems in this? Long-term usability. You make a model, this model has to last. Is really, really full in this year of public companies, municipalities, and so that have made models with scanner laser or the water system, I don't know, 10 years ago. And we have the file of the model, but we can do nothing with it. It's happened to me that I have a work to do. They have a file, huge file, made, I don't say the name of the company, it's a company, and no one have the software just to read, but to manage this file. 10 years ago, not so much. But this was private, and they then didn't develop again the software. So I have to go to some people that works here, and like a friendly help, he transformed the software for me. The Italian way. If you have a problem, ask someone, and we are kind of nice, and we solve the problem. And but this is not possible for everyone. Okay, every country, every public association or every institution has to need to have an open source modeling that is equal for all Europe. And that is open source. Obviously, I mean Blender. You're not surprised about that. So the solution for this is open standards. Training of the professional. This is also a problem, because we give a model of your church to the measure of a little city of 200 people, and what they can do there about this. They need to have some person that can work with this. Again, open source. This is absolutely important. And policy that ensure that public investment are sustainable, accessible, and that last for years. So, as you can imagine, we use Blender for the reason that you can read. What for me is very important is this: preserve the memory for future generation. When you make a model, you make a model of what you have in this moment. But maybe in 10 years, the monument will change, and you can see how much is changed. Also, without flood or fire or earthquake, obviously, if you have this, to have a digital model of the monument is really important. But also for the day-by-day consumption of the church, of the facade, it's really important to have models that fix the situation in some moment of every monument. Then, study of the buildings. Sometimes you can study the model in a way that is better than in real presence. I'm an architect, so I know that architecture is something about the space, okay? The virtual is different. But sometimes the virtual is better. Then I show you something to explain this. And communicate the cultural heritage. This is also important. Some part of Europe over tourism, some part not enough. So this use of SketchUp or similar technique can be really, really important to solve this problem, to improve this. So this is one of the models we made. I just to show you, let me see this, okay. Just to show you some of the work we do, and this is also something. And I show you the model. What I was saying that, for example, you can see the paintings you have here on this object, and you can study. If you study the paintings of this room, you can have what? Photo. But with a photo, you don't have the perception of the three-dimensional space. And you can stay there one day, 2 days, you can stay 1 hour. But if you study this, you can have a totally different perception of this space. So it's not just to have a memory of stuff, but it's also something that, in my opinion, helps to understand better the cultural heritage that we have. And then, obviously, to make something that is very important, to show the cultural heritage, to communicate it. If you go there, you can see, I give you one moment. It's very simple, but it's a simple, nothing strange. It's a simple Sketchfab stuff, is this one, okay? So this is also something that is really helping in communicating this. Obviously, this is a low quality model, but this is the concept that and how we made. As you can see, the knowledge of this little place that you don't know before is very, very, very strong. Obviously, with the tourism, we have a lot of problem with how much, and if tourists came, then the price of the houses rises. So you have to be very careful on everything on this matter. But this is, I want to speak about digitalization. Assume that is a good thing. This is other examples of the work we do. This was quite interesting because we have these paintings inside of this tower that are inaccessible to anyone. There is just a space of 1 meter. And so we take, many years ago, one of the first work we do, the pictures of the paintings that are totally inaccessible to the public. And then we create this, and then we try to imagine the object inside the tower. It was another example, another one. I almost finished my time already. Okay, so obviously you can use the drone. They work very well, and they can make this work in a perfect manner. You can see this is a cultural heritage of modern architecture. Okay, you can have cultural heritage not just for antique architecture, but also the modern. With modern, we mean between the beginning of the last century to the 20th to the 30th or 40th, like, something like this. What we use for this? Maybe some of you know how it works, but maybe someone not, so I will explain very, very fast. We use or Alice Vision Measure, that is open source, but don't work with every computer. You need NVIDIA graphic card to make or Metachip, that is by pay, but is an amazing software. If you don't know how it works, just using photography, not scanner, laser, not other tool, just with a normal camera, a normal reflex, you take the photos of the monument. You take many of them. And the quality and the way you take the photo is really, really important. Then, it works this way. You put the photo inside and magic. Okay. Really magic, because theory, I know what's happened, that the software takes the pattern of the pixels and mix them, and from the pattern of the pixel and triangulating the position of the pattern can understand the position, the blue square that you see here, from where the picture has been taken. So this rectangle has the picture, the camera, the sensor of the camera in every position. Magic. And then he creates like some point, and then he go ahead, or he go back. Having some point, use the picture to create a mesh, a three-dimensional mesh, a dense cloud of point, then a mesh. And then, again, uses the pictures to texturize the model. So projecting the picture on the model. You need a lot of RAM if you have a big monument. This object is very, very small, but you have to make the photo in some way, and you need a lot of RAM in the computer, and you need 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 photo for a big scale model. If you have one object, 100 photo more or less is okay. But, 2 minutes. What is important is the fact that we use Blender. This is really important because the cultural heritage is something that we share. And as I said before, it's impossible that we are in the situation that in Italy, but I think everywhere, the communities, the companies, the institution, public institutions have a lot of 3D models that are not usable again because the software is old, they don't know how to use it. And so I think for Europe, we need to have a repository of open source models. I think obviously Blender is the best one, because it's our heritage. It's what we have, it's what we have. And so obviously we work in this direction. And there is some money to do that. I want to finish just showing you the only problem I see in this, the Blender problem. What is the Blender problem? That we have to teach to people to use Blender. I am mostly a teacher. I think I created from 5,000 to 10,000 Blender in 20 years, more or less, 17 years. So I teach a lot of students. What is the problem with Blender? If someone sees open Blender for the first time, this is, okay? This is what they see. So 90% of the people close it, and that's it. But for a normal user, there is a personal choice. But if the people in the city of 200 people, you have to teach, use Blender to some maybe old lady that makes the model, have to use to show the model to someone, obviously is a problem. This is my opinion. I give you my idea. This is the Blender interface, the same picture before. You don't see the interface in this moment. You don't see it with your eyes. You are looking to Blender with your memory. You know everything. You know what the buttons are intended for. You know why it works this way, the window and everything. Don't look at this with the memory. Look at this with your eyes, like it's the first time you see Blender. Obviously, is for newcomer is a big problem. I know in this year I understand why Blender works this way. It's for artists. It's correct that it's complicated because to paint is not simple. So, and then I started with Blender 2.39. So this is a paradise. Okay. But my idea is this, just to show you. We need maybe. I ask you. Maybe we can find some money, I don't promise nothing. But maybe we can have an add-on that makes this work. This is my Android phone. Usually, when you are on battery, you can do that. Maybe for a newcomer, to have something like this that keeps everything, but just let you use the fundamentals. Maybe you can have different levels for just to move, for just to have a little modeling, I don't know, maybe different kind of this. Maybe this can be an idea, and maybe in the future we can look and ask for some money from the Europe to help this, because in the creation of this cultural heritage repository, I think that this is the weak point at this moment. So maybe some of you, I never compile and never do this kind of stuff. So I ask you if someone has some idea of maybe something that already exists. So 3 minutes late, okay. Is it all? Thank you for watching. And I don't know if there are questions, because usually no questions. So. Oh, if you have, I'm happy.
Just one.
Oh, fantastic.
Really nice research, by the way. I'm inspired by what you say about making a Blender, a simple version of beginners should be just another kind of workspace that you can personalize yourself.
No, personalized not, because my opinion, you have to make a different version for every new version of Blender. And then when you start, you want everything. You don't want the dumbest version of Blender. Students want to have everything, but they don't know how to work with it. So switch off, letting see the button, but you can't press the button. You can focalize your attention on what you can do. Then maybe step by step, you can do other stuff, maybe and also 10 levels. But for a beginner, mostly, not for a student, I work with students, they have to learn it, okay, so I can press them. But for a person that don't have to work with it and so on, maybe my opinion is that this can be the solution. And my opinion can be quite simple to be made. Maybe it's very difficult, okay, so it's not a solution. This is my proposal, not... Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you all.